Have you ever, thought about a forbidden place in your own school? You know, maybe a room that was always locked, totally shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah, most schools have one, don't they? An attic, a basement corner.
Exactly. But what if the reason it was locked wasn't just old equipment or something mundane? What if it hid something? Well, deeply disturbing.
That definitely changes things.
That's kind of the situation with room 211 at Ridgeway High in Oregon. It wasn't just off limits, there was a story there. A dark one.
Right. And we're going to dive into that today, aren't we? Figure out what was really going on behind that door.
Yeah, what scandal they tried so hard to keep hidden.
So Ridgeway High, from the outside, sounds pretty standard, right? Small town, football games, the usual school atmosphere.
Totally typical. You can almost smell the cafeteria lunch and picture the friendly teachers.
But then you have room 211, sort of sticking out like a sore thumb against that normal backdrop.
Completely. No classes scheduled in there ever. Windows totally blacked out and always locked.
It wasn't just ignored either, was it? There was active avoidance.
Oh, definitely. And warnings. Upperclassmen would tell you, sort of half joking, but not really, don't ask about 211. You don't want to end up like Mr. Hadley.
Mr. Hadley, the science teacher.
Yep. Vanished back in 2006. Just gone. No explanation.
And the implication was his disappearance was somehow connected to that room.
That was the persistent rumor, yeah. Linking him to room 211. That's when you start thinking, okay, this is more than just a locked door.
It taps into that classic school legend thing, doesn't it? But at Ridgeway, these legends, they apparently had teeth.
Right. People said the darker the rumor, the more likely it was to have some truth behind it. Which brings us to Project Mirror.
From 1998, this is where it gets really unsettling. The story goes, a psychologist who was running experiments.
Behavioral experiments on students labeled as problem students inside room 211.
That sounds ethically dubious, to say the least. What kind of experiments?
The goal, supposedly, was forcing them to confront their deepest fears inside that locked room.
Okay, wow. That's moving from guidance counseling into something much darker.
And the outcomes, the alleged outcomes, they're pretty grim.
I read about that. One girl had a complete mental breakdown.
Severe breakdown, yeah. Another student, a boy, apparently attempted self-harm inside the room.
Oh my God.
And then 3 other students involved were just permanently removed from the school, vanished from the system, almost.
What happened to them? Does anyone know?
No idea. That's part of the mystery. It suggests whatever happened was bad enough to warrant basically erasing them from the school's record.
And then the psychologist and the files related to Project Mirror just disappeared too.
Poof! Gone. Like it never happened. Which screams cover-up, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Deliberate erasure. Makes you wonder how far they went.
Exactly. So things go quiet for a while. Until 2018.
Right, 20 years later. The janitor finding something in the archives.
Yeah, a leather-bound journal. But get this, it was half burned. Like someone tried to destroy it.
But failed. Or didn't finish the job. What did it say?
Key parts survived. Unsigned entries. And they are chilling.
Like what?
Okay, one entry. Student #12 refused to participate. Locked door. Screaming lasted 7 minutes.
7 minutes? Wow. Just stated so clinically.
I know. And another one, like a note to self. Stop bringing them alone. They talk to each other afterward. Memory transfer.
Memory transfer? What does that even mean? Were they worried the kids were comparing notes or something stranger?
It's so cryptic. It hints at something really bizarre happening. Maybe some unexpected side effect they were observing.
And there was more, right? Something about erasing.
Yeah, the last bit that was legible was just must erase, must erase, must erase, over and over. Pure panic.
Someone knew they'd crossed a line. Badly.
Seems like it. And inside the back cover of this burned journal, a small key.
Let me guess.
Labeled 211.
Of course. The key to the room, hidden in the evidence someone tried to destroy. That's like something out of a movie.
Right. And finding that journal, that key, that's when the story really started to unravel again.
And that's when some students decided to take matters into their own hands.
Yep. 3 seniors, Jake, Leela, and Donnie. They heard about the journal, the key. The temptation was too much.
Teenage curiosity, right?
Yeah.
especially with a mystery that deep.
Totally. They planned it carefully, waited for a Friday night football game when the school would be practically empty.
Smart. Less chance of getting caught. And they have the key.
They did. And they brought a camera, to document it. Proof.
Standard procedure for urban exploration these days.
Mm-hmm.
So what did they find?
It sounds sparse but disturbing. An empty desk, padded walls.
Padded, like an asylum cell.
Kind of gives that vibe, yeah. And a single chair bolted to the floor with straps.
Straps, okay, that confirms restraint.
Yeah.
Then there was a mirror.
A big one. Looked like a regular mirror, but they suspected, and were probably right, that it was a two-way mirror. Observation?
Someone could have been watching from the other side.
Exactly. And then the message on the wall. In red marker.
What did it say?
Who's watching who?
Chilling.
Yeah.
Especially with the two-way mirror. Deeply ironic.
They were freaked out, obviously, but they filmed everything, looked around, didn't see anyone else. They kind of laughed it off nervously afterward.
Until they watched the footage.
Right. When they reviewed their recording, just for a split second, they saw a reflection.
Of what?
Someone standing behind them in the mirror's reflection, but there was no one actually there with them in the room?
Whoa. Okay, so a ghost. Something else.
Or someone else had access, maybe from behind the mirror. Either way, incredibly unsettling.
Yeah, that would stick with you. Big time.
But it gets worse. Just a few days after they went into room 211, Donnie disappeared.
One of the three students disappeared. How?
Like Mr. Hadley, vanished. His parents filed a missing person report. School security footage showed him entering the school building that day.
But not leaving.
Never seen leaving.
Okay, that's bad. Seriously bad.
And then the internal security footage from the cameras inside the school corridors for that day, wiped, erased.
Tampering with evidence. Clear cover-up attempt.
Absolutely. And the janitor, the one who found the journal, he suddenly resigned, moved away, refused to talk to anyone about it.
He knew something, or saw something, and was scared into silence, maybe.
Seems likely. The school's reaction. They didn't board up room 211. They reinforced it. New heavy-duty door, keycard access only.
Locking it down tighter than ever, containing the secret.
And the other two students, Jake and Leela.
What happened to them?
Leela dropped out of school almost immediately. Jake's family moved. He transferred out of state. And reportedly, neither of them ever spoke about what happened in room 211 or about Donnie ever again.
Just complete silence. That speaks volumes, doesn't it? Trauma, fear.
And Donnie, still missing. Officially an unsolved case.
So the room itself is locked down. The witnesses are scattered or silent. The evidence is tampered with. But the story wasn't quite over, was it?
Not quite. Sometime later, a whistleblower surfaced, contacted an online investigative show like this one.
And claimed to have been involved.
Involved in Project Mirror, yeah. Said the whole thing was completely unauthorized, used illegal techniques, sensory deprivation, illicit suggestion methods.
Wow. Confirmation of the worst rumors.
And claimed it didn't stop at Ridgeway. Said the project, or versions of it, continued in other schools under different names.
A network. That's deeply disturbing, like a hidden infection in the system.
Yeah. And the whistleblower's final message was, well, recontextualizes everything. They said, room 211 wasn't just a room, it was a test.
A test for who? Or what?
And the real subject was always the school.
The school itself, what does that mean? Testing its limits, its ability to cover things up, its compliance?
It's incredibly ominous, isn't it? Suggests the students were almost incidental, part of a larger, more sinister institutional experiment.
And what happened to this whistleblower? Did they provide proof?
That's the final terrifying part. They were found dead. Officially, no signs of forced entry, natural causes, or suicide maybe. But on the mirror in their room, someone had written a single word.
What was it?
Redacted.
Redacted. Like their testimony, like their life.
Right.
A clear, brutal message.
Exactly. Silenced. Permanently.
So the cover-up held. The powers behind it were willing to go to lethal lengths.
It certainly seems that way. Which leaves us, well, thinking.
Yeah. Thinking about our own schools.
Right. Everyone has those stories. Cheating scandals, maybe teachers having affairs, fights, the usual high school drama.
Sure, the standard stuff.
But after hearing about Ridgeway, makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was there a place in your school that was always locked? A room nobody talked about?
A place with no clear purpose.
Could your school have had its own room 211, its own buried secret? Maybe not as extreme, hopefully not, but who knows?
It's an unsettling thought. That familiar places might hide things we don't suspect.
And maybe, Just maybe. Someone's still watching, still testing, still keeping secrets.
Puts a different spin on walking those old hallways.
It really does. Sleep well tonight, because you'll probably never walk your school halls the same way again.